Hello everyone, my name is Ramirez. I am FrogBear. I think I like that. Calling myself FrogBear. I mean, that's not my emoji, that's FrogBear, but whatever. Either way. What was I going to talk about today? Few things. I wonder, am I really that difficult to talk to? Because the way I see it is like, I don't know. Pox, answer my question. Am I really that difficult to talk to? Am I really that difficult to get in fucking touch with? Because sometimes it feels like it. Yeah, either way. Why men need to be elites problems with childlike children. Healthy kids exposed, topple systems designed to fuck. Oh, designed by little fucks. Okay, yeah. Now I remember. Sometimes I write my notes from yesterday. But yeah, essentially, yeah, I don't even know how to word all that, but you know how to contact me. Leave me the fuck alone otherwise. Um fuck the stupid games. Why men need to be okay, yeah. Okay, now I remember. So I was wondering, all right, so I was wondering very seriously about why why the propaganda needs to be the way it is. Why men need to be weak. Why men need to be dysfunctional. Um and I bring this up because I understand my emotional state, but at the same time, I always remember asking other males, like, what are your thoughts on X, Y, or Z? Why don't you communicate these other aspects of yourself? And a lot of it, I guess a great example of this would be feelings. Men do not communicate their feelings because I'd imagine that every time they have, it's been shut down, or it's been like something will come down hard on it and make that individual realize, yeah, I should never do that again. Right? There are a variety of instances where they probably have shared their emotions. They probably did share some shit about themselves, and right, it just comes down on them hard. So it's a repeated pattern of learning not to communicate that side of themselves, because it's like, if I do so, I've gained nothing, right? I've only hurt myself by doing so. So why the fuck am I gonna do it again? And I would always ask, like, my peers, those around me, and I always would get met with like a not a brick wall, because they would communicate back to me and be like, "Yeah, we don't. I don't know how to explain that to you." Like, I always ran into a situation where they did not. Right, it would stunt them. They'd be like, "Whoa, no one's ever asked me this question before. How do I answer it?" And it's one interesting aspect of things. And I also bring this up because of it's not that it's a feminized men. It's just there is a subdivision of men who lean too much into their emotions, and it comes out as just really weird backlash, right? So I guess a great example of this would be imagine if you saw like a kid throwing a temper tantrum, but if you saw that manifest in an adult. Like, I've seen it in a few instances, and they start throwing shit around, they start breaking stuff, they start yelling at the employees, like they take it too far. And how this relates to why the elite need people, men, to be weak is because at that point, that individual has a fuck ton of other problems that by the time it comes to needing to put themselves together in order to articulate an idea, in order to articulate an actual thing of substance, they can't do it. Because and I'm not even I'm not even coming at this from like a knowledgeable perspective of, can this person word or can this person articulate? It's coming like in most cases these weak people can't communicate at all. Like, there's an absence of that. Like, you know, I would still say that, yeah, some people can go to university, go to college, do all that, but yet when they come out, they still won't be able to articulate um their idea. And the reason why I bring this up is because the elite, or the people at the top, the oligarchs, the aristocrats, or people of affluence is what I normally call them. All right, because you need a wherewithal in order to understand how to educate your children. And that only comes with when the individual in question understands affluence. And either way. So these kids get groomed, right? Into learning how to speak, into understanding social paradigms, into understanding social dynamics, into understanding this other side of social dynamics, and they'll understand it in a way where to them it's called common sense, where they know where the fork is. If they get put 8 spoons on this side and 4 forks on this side, they will understand what's a soup spoon. They'll understand they'll understand the purpose of each other spoon. Because I remember taking this class in middle school. So I went to my 8th grade year was spent in Mexico, and I went to a very prestigious, like, it was a tiny little school, but they taught us things there that I would never learn anywhere else. And one of them was that, where they like simulated putting down forks and spoons, and then like we were actually tested on this. Like, we were tested on, if you were eating this, what kind of spoon would you use? If you were eating this, what kind of spoon would you use? If you're in this side of the country, which one's the hot water and which one's the cold water? Like, some weird ass shit that was like, it made no sense, right? As a kid, like, it made no real sense to me. But when I got older, I realized, oh, I've never had another class like that. I've never had another I never had a class that taught me whatever weird abstract things I was learning there. Like, there were a lot of weird things that now, like, I can't even think of them because to me it's such common sense. That's where it got really crazy for me, because if we look at the division of citizens that we have in our world, they don't know. They wouldn't know what that means. They wouldn't know what common sense is when it comes to an aristocrat lifestyle, right? You would put all those spoons or forks in front of them, and they wouldn't know which one's which, for what, and for what's for what. And that would incur a negative response from the people that do know, and they'd be like, "You're ignorant," right? And there's that. So there is a class. Like, all I'm describing here is that there is a class. There's a class division between one group of people and another group of people. And by design, schools, our educations, our social paradigms, the things that will shape the worldview of like the things that shape the worldview of citizens will be always in such a way that it excludes, or it excludes the teachings of understanding of what it means to be a part of an upper echelon, or the rules of the upper echelon. It reminds me of I don't know if anybody remembers their school days, but it's when you always saw that one group of kids that just would not let you in, and like, there was somebody always actively aware of who gets to join in and who doesn't get to join in. And the reason why that is because, to some degree, these oligarchs, or these circles, or these people of affluence will have that to some degree, where they'll only allow a certain subdivision of citizens into their upper echelons, right? So yeah, good luck thinking. But either way, with that dynamic comes a few things that you cannot change. And that's why I named this "Why They Require Men to Be Weak." Why for all these years they have been trying to destroy the American man, because the American man is a free man in his own head. But at the same time, um it's that one thing that you can't, you can't deny it when in a dating scene, where, like, if you had a good looking dude and you had an average looking guy, they could not approach the same chicks. And you would notice that the good looking dude has an easier time, while the average looking guy has to put a bit more work into it. So with that dynamic, the elite's children do not fall in the Chad like substance, because you tend to find out that a lot of these oligarchs, a lot of these elites, the kids they have aren't the smartest, aren't the brightest, and aren't the best looking, right? And this becomes a problem for them, because they want to make sure that the child is groomed perfectly enough for his position. The problem are other children, because, you know what I mean, like, these kids will encounter actual, like, gifted kids, and these kids' egos and self-esteem will get shattered by looking at these natural born kids. That is something they don't want. They don't want anything or anyone competing with elite's children. So what they've decided to solve their problem is create a Brave New World. If anybody doesn't know, Brave New World is a book written by Aldous Huxley. But in the beginning of that book, right, so you don't have to get that far, he describes the how that society is layered, and it describes how they purposefully will hinder, in the infant stage, they'll just hinder these other group of people, because that's as far as they want them to go. They want them to have enough mental capacity to fulfill their role in whatever class they're in, but at the same time, they don't want them smart enough. And this is why the elite, by and large, poison us, destroy us, leave us in such decrepit states, is because they know, by and large, we are better than their children. They know, by and large, that it is inevitable that somebody with talent, somebody that actually, not actually knows, but like somebody that's better for the role, better for the position, will spring up, and their child will pale in comparison to the person who's actually supposed to. Actually, I didn't even realize. Is this microphone working? Yeah, the microphone's working. Okay. They won't realize that the person who's naturally gifted, who's natural, who wasn't put in one of these genetically modified programs where mom and dad were decided for them, or none of that. They'll encounter that kid and they'll have nothing but remorse for them, right? So it's why they'll allow they'll allow their kids to grow up like shit. And it's also why they have a bunch of them, because they'll know it's a game, right? To them, the elite, the people who just play this as a game, right? They're psychopaths. They'll just keep having kids until they'll find the right one, and they'll be like, all right, you're going to get groomed for this position. But that's not everyone. CEOs don't get that. CEOs are just kind of like the face and the front of things. Usually the kids that get picked out of those programs are kids that were controlled from the very beginning. Like, I mean, from the very beginning. Like, if they even go to the wrong elementary school or the wrong middle school, they won't use them for grooming for the next position, because it allowed them to sympathize with normal people, and that's something they don't want. And the reason why that's important is because look at what happened to George Bush. And yeah, George Bush Jr. Like, if people don't realize, there's a reason why it was easy for him to make the decision of backstabbing his whole family. People don't put that into equation, but whatever. There's a lot to consider when it comes down to the elites, their kids, why the world is the way it is. By and large, what they really fear is us having children that supersede or prove otherwise their ideas. It's why they control absolutely everything. It's why they control the absolute optics of how we view ourselves, right? Like, I know a lot of people that have a lot of animosity towards whites, and I always remind them, like, dude, you should have nothing but pity and mercy for them, because they're the worst ones of them all. Because by and large, no offense to anybody who's white and watching this, your people, your subdivision of class lives in a snow globe. They do not see past the veneer of decor. They do not see past the illusion that was put in front of them. Shake the little, oh. Like, they'll just stay in awe in whatever is presented to them in that illusion, right? It's why they have my biggest sympathy and why I defend them the most. That, and I have 2 white nephews who live in Watts. Like, somebody would rule the day if they think they can touch my family. Like, yeah, they might not be blood related to me, but my brother-in-law is married to my sister. So the way I always saw it, like, I've known these kids since they were like 5, right? Now they're like 18 and 16. So I've known them since they were little kids. The way I see it, no, that's my family. I'm not about... It gets even worse when I think about the fact that I actually have family that looks white. But, like, you wouldn't know that, you know what I mean? Because that's why I always worry. It's like, people are going to run with what they see, not with what they know or what they will know. Like, to them, it doesn't matter. To them, it's just like, oh, you got different skin. I got to attack you. And it's like, this is what gets me so mad, right? Because I know, so all of the minorities that I know, it's just like, I always tell them, you think these group of people are the problem. What if I told you they're just as fucking retarded as you are, just in a different way? Just in a different way. It always goes over their head because they do not realize that this political science has already been drawn out. There's already tactics for it. There's already ways of implementing this into normal people's lives. Rappers, by and large, use the Machiavellian tactics to create their image, to create that facade. Like, every single artistry uses Machiavellian tactics. It depends. Can you read the book and understand what the book's trying to tell you? But I'm superior! So when I look at the elites and when I look at their situation against us, it makes total sense why they poison us, why they ruin us. And it's because they fear their toppling. They fear even their kids getting fucking, like, put through the ringer, because they know by and large, my kid's a bitch. He can't survive. And they know that. They absolutely know that. That's why you look at Hunter Biden and you think, like, if he didn't have Secret Service around him, right, there was the joke, the FBI. If these people didn't have their guarded walls the way they do, their children would not survive, like, at all. And I'm not saying this in a terms of I'm gonna go do something. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna go do anything. I don't have to. Their kids are already self-imploding on their own. Growing up in that fucking household is a fucking chore enough, dude. If anything, fate played their hand the way fate was meant to. Like, no offense to any of the fucked up shit that these people are incurring, but at the same time, you were born there, man. You have to ask yourself, did karma lead me here? Because if anything, it probably did. The way I see it is like, holy fuck, dude. I've heard some horror stories of, like, ways that their children get groomed, right? And the way I see it is, if you're from one of these families and you decide to have a girlfriend and you decide to, like, be like, yeah, mom, dad, I'm gonna marry this other girl, I'd imagine mom and dad are gonna be like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Mom, dad, Susie ended up in a lake. Dad, right? Or some shit. Who knows? The sort of levels and tactics that their kids have to go through in order for them to be groomed in the way that they have to be positioned, right? Because in reality, if they were to meet natural kids, their whole paradigm would destroy. Their whole paradigm would shatter. It's like, these people raise their kids and they tell their kids, you're special, you're different, this and that. But then they go to real life and then they meet somebody who's actually special, and they're like, but my parents always told me I was special. And it's just like, well, You know that anxiety, you know that weird churning you get in your stomach. Well, that's your body telling you that that nigga's better than you. I've seen that shit with elites where it's like they don't. This is why they get to live such lavish lifestyles, because they walk around the idiots and the idiots are like, wow, you're so great. While everyone else is like, but you're not that great. And that's who they fear. They fear people who do not absorb the programming. Correct? Because if you don't absorb the programming, that means you have no. Like, there is no importance to your title. There is no importance to the veneer that people will put up, because what. I don't know, by and large, you'll notice that Americans care about the grit. Like, they'll care about the nitty bitties, like all that tough, grindy work, while by and large, it's this European societal class bullshit that we've absorbed. That's like, oh yes, get out of my house, you ramble rouser, some stupid shit like that. But reminds me of a Smith song, something about Return the Ring. I don't know that song. Yeah, he wrote a lot of his music based on like literature that he read, and one of them was like something about the son of a baker. I don't remember. Return the ring. Either way, I think that I've spoken enough about this subject. 21 minutes. Yay! Either way, this was FrogBear.zil. My name is Ramirez. I probably didn't do that great of a job explaining this topic because it's still early in the morning for me. I probably did. This is very difficult to talk about because I would rather find instances of like situations that prove my theory, and just prove that, like, yeah, you can groom all these kids to be the best little things that they could be, but they'll always encounter somebody in real life that'll completely shatter their paradigm, and it'll leave them scarred. Anyway, that's why the elite poison